Okay, so hello and good evening, everyone, and welcome to this introductory session on the interview series. So, before we start, I think most of you do not know me or have not been introduced to me via my LinkedIn profile or through my YouTube channel. Let me just tell you about myself. I am Laksh, and I work for Cisco currently, and I've been working for Cisco for the past 4.5 years now. And before that, I was working for Capgemini, and before that, I was working for a company called Product Solutions, and that's where I started my career journey. Right, and I have 10 years of working experience, in which my most of my experiences on the networking side, computer network side, and especially on the routing and switching end, right? And for the past 2 years, I am into training, where I've trained many folks on CCNA. I've trained many people on CCNP and CCIE as well. All three of these things. And because we are talking about the certifications, I have completed my CCNA back in 2015. That is CCNA R&S, then CCNP R&S as well. I have completed my CCNP Encore, and I have completed the CCNP NRC as well, and as well as CCA NP SP Core. And I have which this CCNP Encore is basically in the current situation, it's the CCI return exam. So basically, I've completed CCI return, and I attempted the CCI lab back in 2023, and I'm going to once again attend the next month, that is in 2025, right? And apart from these, I have also completed a certification in Sienna. I'm sure you guys may not have heard of Sienna. Sienna is another company like Cisco. Obviously, Sienna is pretty new, only has been in the domain for past 10 or 12 years or so, and mostly it's on the
नहीं
optical
मेरा मत
side.
निकालो। टाइम लग गया, मेरा मत निकालो। मेरा मत निकालो।
So sorry about that. So Sienna is mostly into the optical segment, but it also has its Ethernet side, and I have completed its. Yeah, everyone, please mute yourself. Thanks. So yeah, I was saying I was working for its Ethernet side. So Sienna also has its own certification program, which is called as a carrier Ethernet certification program, right? So I've completed that as well. Right? So and again, yeah, for the past 2 years, when I say I was into training, I'm also, for the past 2 years, I have started to create my YouTube videos, and my YouTube channel name is the same, Network Bytes with Laksh. You can search on YouTube. So this was about me, and anything do you want to ask me about myself, my career, etc., please feel free to ask. It's let's keep this whole session an introductory as well as an interactive session, right? So moving on about this course, right, which is the interview series. So first of all, let me tell you, why did I start this interview series? What was the intention behind it? Because I am a very frequent logger into the LinkedIn, so I see quite a lot of in posts that they're open to work, they're looking for jobs, they need help with the interview, etc. And myself, having a 10 years of experience, and I have pretty much gone through 30 or so, like approximately 30 interviews in my whole 10 years of career, right? Out of which, to be very frank, I gave 8 attempts. Okay, I am being very frank with you. I gave 8 attempts just to get inside Cisco. right? Obviously, now when I look back at those 8 attempts, I feel that the interviews were very simple. The questions were very basic. The only thing was I did not had the knowledge. Right now, as I said, when I look at my first attempt at Cisco, right, the questions that they asked was on DHCP, right, and few a bit of in-depth question about DHCP, which I was not able to answer. But then, as I said, if I look back, I see that it was a very simple question. Had I known this earlier, I would have got into Cisco long back. Probably instead of having a 4.5 years in Cisco, probably now I might have had 7 years of experience in Cisco, right? So that was a huge gap. Not just Cisco. In these 30 attempts, not just Cisco, I gave attempt at Amazon as well. I gave attempt at Amazon. I gave attempt in the month of October 2024. Okay, and that was purely to see where I stand, right? Having like 4.5 years of experience, I have not given any interviews, so I just wanted to see, right? Do I am I at par with what is going on? And I gave that interview at Amazon, and the interview went very well. However, they have Amazon has a specific pattern, right? Technically, I did absolutely well. I had no problem with that. However, with their in Amazon's interview pattern, they have something called as leadership principle questions, where they give you questions based on scenarios. For example, let's say you have an idea and you pitched it to your manager, right? Your manager did not like it. How are you going to convince your manager about the idea, and what was his reaction? Such kind of questions are asked in Amazon's leadership principle, right? Those are a bit tricky and it's all subjective. Okay, you don't know if your answer would if your answer is agreeable to the interviewer. You don't know. Like I guess my interview, I was rejected because of that, right? However, speaking from a technical point of view, I nailed it. And again, I gave interview for Google in the month of January last year, 2024. Okay, and because again, Google and Amazon mostly are like into the front end side. Whenever we go on the internet, the first thing that we type is google.com, right? Similarly, we go to the Amazon to buy stuffs. So most of their work is on the front end. They need developers, right? And mostly they were looking for someone who has a good, extremely good knowledge on coding side, which I did not, right? And that was the reason I did not get selected. Again, from a technical standpoint, Google did not reject me. From coding point, yes. As I said, I have 10 years of experience, and my coding skills from a networking skill comparingly, it's extremely low. Okay, and I am not going to deny that. I'll be very honest with that. Obviously, no one is an expert. Okay, so my networking skills is extremely high, whereas coding skills not so good. So one was Amazon, the other was Google. I have given interview back in 2017 in NTT Data. I gave an interview in Juniper again back in 2020, right? So this was before Cisco, etc. So as I said in the chats, what I have seen is the technical questions that they ask is all the same. Okay. When I was, as I said, when I gave my first attempt at Cisco, that was, I only had 3 years of experience, right? And now, as I said, when I had 10 years of experience, when I was giving an interview for the Amazon, that first attempt of question, which I gave for Cisco, and after 10 years of experience, when I'm giving an interview with Amazon, the questions have not changed. And I was so relieved, like, I can answer so many questions. Okay. So my intention with this series is to share those questions. Okay. And these questions are general, it's like generic questions that are most frequently asked in most of the interviews. Okay. So as I said, we would be talking about the LAN architecture, LAN design, WAN design, etc. Why are we going to talk about LAN or WAN design? The reason is questions like, tell me the packet flow. For example, if you type google.com, this is one of the most common, again, question on packet flow. If you type google.com, what happens? Tell me the flow from end to end, right? I'm pretty sure many of you would have been asked this question. How many of you have faced this question? Just raise your hand. When you type google.com, what happens? How many of you have faced this question? Just one? No one else? Yeah, couple of folks. Yeah, couple of folks, right? So google.com. So we, first of all, why do we need to understand the LAN and WAN architecture? The reason is that from your computer to the Google server, what is in between, how the design of a network is made, we need to understand that in order to answer this question. Okay, so we are not only going to look at the answer for that question, but also we will try to understand the logic behind it. Okay, so what happens when the packet leaves your PC? Where does it go? What device does it talk to? And then what happens? And then what happens? And then what device does it talk to? And then how is the google.com connected? Right? We have to, in order to understand this, right, at any point of time, okay, we need to, if we understand the logic behind it, any questions asked based on this can be answered very easily. Okay, so my intention with this interview series is not just to tell you the answer, but also to tell you the logic behind it. Okay, as I said, I will explain you the logic, then I will talk about the question, and then we'll talk about the answer. So once you know the logic, right? For example, right? Let me say we'll talk about switching. Okay, how switch work. Okay, so we will talk about how switch works. Once you understand how the switch basically works, right? How it shares the MAC addresses, how it learns the MAC addresses, how it forwards the data based on the MAC addresses. You will, if you understand that logic, you will be able to answer questions based on that. For example, questions based on VLANs. Okay, questions based on VLANs, questions based on inter-VLAN communication. Right. So my intention is to tell you the logic, and I will discuss few questions that I have always seen in the interviews that I have given, be it my first attempt or be it my attempt at Amazon last year. Okay, the questions remain the same. Okay, any questions or any queries do you have with this?
So basically, Lakshya, you will be giving a glimpse of from the basics to advance. I mean, like
Exactly. So I'm not sure.
Flow,
Yeah.
how the packet is flowing from the submarine cables and going to Google server, how it is flowing, like that.
Yeah. See, I'm not going to tell you. When you say submarine cables, you're basically telling the physical location of the cables. We are not going to talk about like how the devices or how the cabling of things work. Obviously, no one is going to ask you. I have never been asked, and I don't hear anyone in my network being asked about cabling. Okay.
No, I'm not asking about cables. I'm asking about the logic, like how the packet is flowing end to end.
Yeah, exactly. We'll talk about that. So it's one of our topic. Okay. So if you understand how the packet is flowing, there are so many things that you can answer. Okay. Not just that. Once you understand the how your LAN and WAN architecture looks like, okay, there are so many things that you will understand. You will be talking about switch in the LAN WAN architecture. We will be talking about switches. right? How switch works. When we are talking about switches, we will be looking at questions based on VLANs. We'll be looking questions based on spanning tree protocol, right? Then we move on. Switch is connected to a router, right? So we'll be talking about like IPv4 addressings, right? Then we will be talking of protocols. We'll be talking about OSPF, right? Then the router is connected to another router, right? What is happening in between? So we will be talking about BGP. We will be talking about MPLS, right? Then other than that, what is happening? So we'll be talking about L3 VPN as well. Questions based on that. So as I said, if you just understand the architecture of how network is built, right, you will be able to understand these questions. And when such questions are asked, you will be confidently answering them without being nervous about it. Okay. Anyone else? Any other question?
Hi, Laksh. My name is Sunil. Are you
Yeah.
able to hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so this sounds good. That we will be talking about the packet flow inside. Along with that, are you going to perform this on practical,
Yes.
like
Yes. But
PCAP
not
showing
for
us?
everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not for everything. Okay. Not for everything. But for few questions where actually you need to understand the logic. Okay. Especially, for example, I would be doing the practicals for VLANs, for spanning tree, for OSPF. Okay. Not for BGP. For MPLS, I may show you how MPLS works. Okay. But for BGP, no. But for L3 VPN also, no. I'll go through the theory, how L3 VPN works, how BGP works, right? But doing a practical for BGP topics is going to take a huge amount of time, and the course duration would then increase. Okay, so
Got it.
instead of showing you the practical, I would show you the exact same thing via theory.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, yeah, all right. Okay, so now the timings of this course, right? As I said, it would start from 26th May, that is the Monday that is going to come, and we would start at 9 p.m. It's going to be a 1.5 hours session, so 9 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. would be the sessions. This includes the questions that you may have, right? So let's say we are discussing about packet flow. For example, we are discussing packet flow in a particular session, right? So once I explain the packet flow and how things work, you may, not you, we all may discuss the questions that you have been asked in your interviews, right? So that everyone benefits from it, right? And it's like I may know the answer, I may not know the answer. Okay, so if I know the answer, if I can think of the answer that time, I'll probably answer that. If not, probably the next day or in a separate session just for that, we'll continue. Okay, and we will have classes 5 days a week, right? So that is Monday to Friday, right? And weekends are a holiday. Then when someone's asked about lab, right? So lab, as I said, I am an individual person. Okay, I do not have a team. I I'm like a one-man army, right? So whatever messages that you see, whatever invites that you see, whatever emails that you're seeing, it's not from anyone else. It's just me, right? So as I said, I do not, since I'm a one-man army, I do not have a lab. I do not have a time to create a lab. Okay. So if someone asks me, can you give us a rack access? No, I do not have a rack access. But how are we going to perform lab? How am I going to show you? Right. So we will be using Cisco Packet Tracer. Okay. Cisco Packet Tracer for simple concepts. And then we would use GNS3. Okay, if anyone is wondering, both of these softwares are free. They are free to download. Cisco Packet Tracer is absolutely free to download, and GNS3 is an open source. All you need to do is just go to Google and download GNS3. For Cisco Packet Tracer, you need to go to the Cisco website and create an account, and then download Cisco Packet Tracer. You can start working on it. So what happens here is that the reliability for a rack, right? Sometimes the rack does not work. Sometimes you need someone, if someone else is accessing the rack or the remote desktop, and even if you're trying to access, it won't work. So with open source and free softwares, you're free to use it anytime without any hindrance. Okay, Omkar, packet flow means end-to-end or perspective how router deals with packet or switch or firewall. Yeah, so when I say packet flow, right, it as I said, my expertise is mostly on the routing and switching side, and LAN enterprise, and WAN enterprise as well, right, and a bit of service provider network. So whatever the answers or the questions that we would be discussing would be from this point of view. Okay, I have not worked with security concept. So if in the packet flow, if there is a obviously you guys must, like, some of you might be working in the security side, so you maybe were dealing with firewalls, etc. If let's say I do not discuss firewall, so the main reason is I do not have the required knowledge to explain that. But from a very generic point of view, packet flow is only going to be the end to end of how things are connected, as well as how, when if you do a google.com, what is exactly happening there. Then as I said, the fee for this course is rupees 1100, and you need to buy this course from the website, because once you buy, basically you get enrolled into the course, right? Now, why is this important, right? So as I said, because I'm a one-man person who is working into all this thing, I if you simply just buy this course, basically enrolling into the course, what would happen is on 26th May and onwards, right, whenever I upload a particular session recording, right, you will be notified. People who have enrolled will be notified, right? Then whenever I am going to take a session, and if I create a Zoom invite, right, that invitation would be sent to your email, or basically you will be notified that this is the Zoom invite and it is going to start. And also you would know what is the topic that I'm going to take, right? So what happens is that it reduces my extra work of sending these invites on WhatsApp, sending these invites on Gmail, etc. And that is how the website has been designed, right? So please understand, I am a working professional as well, right? I have 8 hours of a day job as well, and I am taking classes as a passion, right? So working and also keeping tabs on these things is a bit difficult for me. So this is the easiest way of how I can reach out to you, or plus you will be always updated.
Lakshya, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah,
Just don't mind. I just wanted to know, like, where are you working currently?
Cisco.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Right. So
Cisco
the
as a tech
duration,
engineer?
no, we'll talk about that in this session right now. We'll talk about that. So the duration of this course is 1 month. Okay. Again, it may extend. It may extend because we are going to do labs also. So working on the labs, probably the month may 1 month duration may go beyond probably 1.5 months. Okay, so this, and all these sessions are being recorded. Today's session is also being recorded. It will be shared as well. So as I said, once the recording is done, I would be uploading it on the website. And once the recording is uploaded, whoever has enrolled it would get a notification, right? So I do not have to keep on sending a message on the WhatsApp, or I do not have to send a message or an email, right? That the recording is uploaded, you can view that. So all that thing is extremely important. And that is why I kept saying, please enroll yourself. What else? Did I miss anything? Yep. Okay. So first of all, why is this interview series important? I told you the reason behind the interview series, right? Now, why is this interview series important, and why I'm pretty sure many of you would have joined? The reason is either mostly, like, probably 80% of you guys have enrolled or have taken interest in this session because you're looking to switch your company, right? You may be a fresher, you may have 3 years of experience, you may have a 7 year experience, or you may have more experience than me as well. Maybe chances are there, right? So mostly you guys are looking to switch for the job, right? Now, because we are talking about jobs, let me talk about this thing, the roles, basically, which roles in a networking profile. Okay, this would be the main topic of our discussion today: networking jobs, right? Roles that we would mostly see in a networking jobs. Now, every company has its own way to give a name to the designation. Okay, the work may be same. Let's say a person, right? A network engineer in Cisco would be called differently in Cisco, would be called differently in Amazon, would be called differently in Google. Okay, so the roles, the responsibility would remain the same. The name of that role probably would change, right? So in networking jobs, the very first role that most of you guys would have gotten yourself into would be a NOC, okay, which is basically Network Operation Center. Operation Center. So we all would have heard NOC, obviously, right? And NOC, as I said, NOC is a very generic word, right? Cisco may call NOC as something else. Juniper may call NOC as something else, right? Infosys may call its NOC team as something else. The name is different, however, the work is same. Now, what does a NOC engineer do? Okay. What does a NOC engineer do? Can anyone tell me from their experience, or do they know what a NOC engineer does?
Monitoring and hi Alex, this is Prashant.
Yeah, Prashant. Hi.
Yeah, so the roles and responsibility for the NOC engineer is to monitor and troubleshoot, along with that provisioning of new services which are coming from the business or a different team. So like monitoring, provisioning, troubleshooting, and migration activities also, like many kind of migration activities like NNI offloadings or B2B services or mobility circuits migration on one provider edge to another provider edge, or it could be like a node dismantle, right? Sometimes routers are dismantled from one location to other, so these kind of activities are there.
Yeah, good enough. You have basically covered everything that a NOC engineer does. However, right, the NOC teams which I have come across, okay, it not just in Cisco, right? Obviously, in Cisco, I have worked with 4 different customers. They have their own NOC team, right? So and also I was working with NOC team in my in the Capgemini as well. So what I have seen, probably if you are working in NOC, probably you may be doing this. Okay, if that is the case, it's extremely good. However, the NOC that I have come across, the NOC engineers that I have come across, all they do is monitoring, and mostly monitoring and provisioning. Okay, monitoring is their basically bread and butter. Okay, now what does monitoring mean? They usually monitor the network. Okay, they monitor the utilizations in network. They monitor the link failures in network, etc. Right? Troubleshooting, migration, etc. is done with the help of attack engineer. Okay, before we jump into attack, let's discuss more on NOC engineer. Right? So monitoring, as I said, they would be monitoring your network. Okay, basically trying to keep everything in control. If they see any red alert in their screen about some network issue, they would alert, right? Provisioning. Okay, now what does provisioning mean? Provisioning basically means that a switch or a router is kept at a particular location. Okay, it's a new device and you need to add it, or add it to the network, or it's an existing device, you need to add few more configurations into that switch or router. That is again called as provisioning. Okay, you are provisioning it into the network. Now, troubleshooting, somewhat a bit of troubleshooting, not an in-depth level of troubleshooting, is done by NOC. And again, migration again, when a migration, as I said, is done, what I have seen and what I basically sometimes do in the Cisco is I do the migration and the NOC team is only monitoring for any alerts. Right. Now, what is migration? Migration basically means, okay, you would have heard migration of birds, right? Now, in Kenya, there is a sanctuary called as Masai Mara. Okay, there are a lot of reels that is going on currently on Instagram and Facebook, etc. Just go check that out. Migration: animals are moving from one place to another, right? Birds are flying from one geographical location to the other geographical location. What does that mean? Migration: you're moving from one place to another. Similarly, in networking, what migration happens is that this is a switch and there are a lot of switch or a router, whatever, right? Now you are trying to upgrade, or you're trying to move this service. Let's say this switch number 1 has become an old switch. Okay, new features or new like connectivities or new protocol, it is not able to handle. So what do? You bought a new switch. Your company bought a new switch. Now, what you're supposed to do? You would be migrating, again, the word migrating, all the protocols, all the configurations, all the services from switch number 1 to switch number 2. Okay, that is called as migration. Right? So migration is done by a lot of teams, not just NOC team. It can be done by a TAC team. It can be done by an architect who has 15 or 20 years of experience. Not necessarily that he has to be supposed to be a NOC engineer. No, migration can be done by a lot of people. Now, these are few things that a NOC does. Now, coming to TAC. TAC also does the same thing. TAC full form is Technical Assistance Center. Assistance Center. Now, whatever a NOC does, right? Whatever a NOC does, it is done by TAC. Okay. However, the difference is that so the difference between a NOC and a TAC is that TAC has a much more access to the network. Okay, he can Attack engineer can log into the device. He can do show commands. He can change the configurations. He can help the customer add new configuration. He can help the customer do a troubleshooting. He can help the customer do a migration, etc. Lot of work. Whereas a NOC engineer does not have too much access, a very limited access. Probably he can run only show commands on a device. He can run only show commands, right? Whereas a TAC engineer, he has the read access. He also has the write access. Okay, but most of the time they work with troubleshooting. Okay, what is troubleshooting? Troubleshooting means there is a problem in the network and the engineer requires, the engineer is needed to fix that issue. It's called as troubleshooting. So these are this is simple difference between a NOC engineer and TAC engineer. I started my career as a TAC engineer in Ciena. Okay, my client was Ciena. However, I was working for Capgemini, right? So there I started my TAC experience, right? So as I said, I was also dealing with NOC engineers. However, the NOC engineers did not had the access that the kind of access that I have, the NOC engineers did not have. That's a major difference between a NOC and a TAC environment. Then again, these are responsibilities of a NOC and TAC. The role or the designation in each of these responsibilities vary based on the company, right? So most of the time you may see a network engineer, right? Then you may see a senior network engineer, right? Then you may see a lead network engineer, right? Then you may see a technical network engineer, something like that. But all of them, they are under TAC, right? And again, these network engineers, senior network engineer, lead network engineer, technical network engineer, etc., is just a general name, right? Amazon may name it differently, Google may name it differently, Cisco may name it differently. However, you the responsibilities remain the same. If you read the job description, right, you may see you need to monitor, you need to raise ticket, you need to help the customer troubleshoot customer scenarios. You would be working on call with the customer, etc. Just understand it either be a NOC profile or it can be a TAC profile. Okay, then comes something called as PDI, right? Planning, development and implementation. Development and implementation. Right? So planning, development and implementation, PDI. What does it mean? So all this is PDI comes under something called as professional services. Okay, professional service. Now, what is professional service? Basically, it's like the team in planning and development, PDI. Okay, they are in direct contact with the customer. Let's say customer A, right? Customer A, for example, comes to a company called as ABC. Right? It reached ABC and it said, I need you to design my network and these are my requirements. Okay, so I have 1,000 users. Okay, and these 1,000 users, I need this LAN architecture, I need this WAN, I need security in it, I need MPLS, I need BGP, I need OSPF, this, that, and these 1,000 users will be connected in this way, right? Now, this is my requirement. You create a blueprint for it, right? It approached company, customer A approached company B and he said, these are my requirement, you design. Okay, so designing is again a part of planning, which again falls under professional services. The roles in a design is basically of an architect who has over 12 plus years of experience. Okay, 12 plus years of experience, more than that. Some architects are there extremely good architects who may have an experience of just 10 years. Okay, I'm not saying that architects should have 12 plus years, but most of the job descriptions say if you are an architect, you should have 12 plus years of experience. You may have that knowledge, but the company's requirement is you should have 12 plus years of experience. And even if you try to apply, they'll reject. Right? So an architect who does this. Now, once the architect has given a blueprint, it is again then put into place, right? It is designed, the devices are connected, the provisioning of the device is then configured, the devices are configured, right? And then trial and error of those network is done. All that thing comes under planning, development, and implementation responsibilities. Again, PDI is a name, is a general name. Different companies will have different names for it. Okay. Now, why am I telling you about all these job roles? Because an architect who has 12 plus years of experience, right, he would have given like countless interviews to reach where he is or to gain that knowledge, right? So, and what knowledge is basically asked when you are designing, when you are an architect, imagine you are an architect of a house. If you have to build a house, you should know the basics, right? You need to, how much deep do you need to dig? What kind of cement would you use? What kind of bricks would you use? What kind of mixture should you do so that the building stays strong? How many floors do you need? If these are the floors, what should be the strength? How big should be the base, right? All that you should know. So what is happening? An architect is also required to know the basic of network, right? Basic of network. That is, let's say, if there is a switch and there is a PC number 1 over here and there is a PC number 2 over here, right? Not all customers are technically intelligent. An architect should be able to explain how these two PCs would talk through a switch, right? So even an architect is asked the simplest of questions just to understand if he has his basics very clear or not. And that is what we are going to look at in this interview series. My agenda is to make sure that your basics and logics are extremely strong so that any questions that are asked, which are not discussed over here, we'll discuss few questions. But if suppose you are asked a question which we have not seen in this interview series, you should be able to answer that because now you know the logic, now you know the basic of it. Any question? Any question here? All right.
Hello, hello.
Yes, Srinivas.
We will discuss about TCP, right?
Yes.
TCP.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Like all the topics in the TCP are most important ones in the TCP topic.
You can say all the topics, not all major topics, but trust me, whatever I take, it's enough to understand the whole TCP itself. And we'll discuss few questions that are asked in TCP, like TCP header, sequence numbers, the TCP bits, sliding window, etc. All that.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
Now, okay, this is a very important thing that I want to discuss. Okay, I know you guys have joined this because most probably you, as I said, you are looking to change your profile, right? Or you're trying to change the company. I just want to give you a reality check. Okay, let me just stop this. Okay, before I stop the recording, any question, anyone?
Hello, Lakshya, Vivek here.
Yeah, Vivek.
So my question is that, so you mentioned that you gave like an interview in Google, even in AWS, right? Where you,
Yeah.
due to some like a behavior round or leadership round or coding, you means you not received that opportunity. So how you tackle that rejections? Means suppose if we join the, okay, I already enrolled this course, okay, but there are multiple people, okay, who think that after joining this course they can get the interview question and they will prepare, okay, but as you are aware that there are chances that we will not select in 10 out of 10 company, right? So how need to tackle this rejection? Means suppose further I give interview in Capgemini, okay, they rejected me due to some issue, okay, like my technical and other things. So how we need to prepare for the another round for the new company or some different company? Can you just tell me, means how you tackle these rejections and how you prepare for the next interview? Is it possible for you to share your experience?
Yeah, sure. See, you have no. Okay, we first of all we all are human. Okay, we all are human, and whenever we are rejected, obviously it hurts a lot. Okay, and you keep questioning yourself, did I do this question wrong? And moreover, another thing is that the the HRs, they never come back saying that you are rejected. They just first either they ignore, like we do not hear anything from the HR, or they just send back an email saying that we are not unfortunately you are not shortlisted for this role, something like that. Like, obviously it hurts, right? So the first thing, if you are trying to wonder if have you done good in the interview, okay, what I do is, let me tell you, any interview that I go for, okay, before the end of the interview, I tell them clearly, if I am selected, I will be getting a call from the HR. But if I am not selected, the HR never calls back. I tell them this clearly. The HR never calls back. And I do not know where I went wrong. Right. So if I am giving any other interview, I may do the same mistake. Right. Let's say if I'm asked a question on VLAN and I answered it wrong in this interview, and the HR never comes back, or the with the feedback of where I went wrong, I may do the same mistake in my next interview where I'm asked about VLAN. Right. So how will I improve? I tell them this very clearly. I need a positive. I need a feedback. Please be very open. If I have done good, tell me I have done good. If I have done bad, tell me where I did wrong so that I can prepare myself better. Okay. And this is the first thing. Second thing, when you are answering, when you are giving an interview, you have an internal feeling that this is where I got stuck. Right? This is where I got stuck. This is a question which I do not know the answer for. Right? Second, third thing, always, whenever you're giving an interview, have a paper and pen with you. Write down those questions that they are asking. Even if you know the answer, even if you do not know the answer, even if it is a scenario based questions, write that down. Okay, what happens there is that at least you know these are the questions, these are the kind of scenarios that I have been asked, and in future if I am asked such questions, I can answer. And trust me, that is how I prepared. That is how I prepared, and that is how confident I am when I gave the interview in Amazon. As I said, from a technical point of view, when I was giving answers in Amazon, you have no idea. I was 1000% confident. that this is the answer. So rejection, like facing rejection, obviously, as I said, I'm a human. I have, as I said, 30 or approximately 30 interviews right now. So every time I face rejection, like, in the Amazon, when I did not clear the interview, I knew I would have failed in the leadership principle side. Right? I would have failed in the leadership principle side, and I felt rejected for 1 or 2 days. I felt rejected, but that's life. You need to move on. You need to move on, and you need to prepare. Now I know if I have 10 years of experience, I will be asked questions not only based on technical, but based on scenarios. Since I have 10 years of experience, my responsibilities will increase. I may have to handle a team of 10 people, right? So if I may be asked questions, can everyone hear me?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
you
yeah.
are audible.
Okay, give me a minute. Krishna Kumar says he cannot hear. Okay, sorry. Where was I? What was I saying?
Life is when you are having experience, when you hold 10 years of experience, you
Yeah. So
carry
as I said,
certain
yeah,
responsibility.
exactly. I carry certain responsibilities, right? So now I need to prepare on those questions, right? Even if I do not prepare on those questions, I need to imagine such questions. Let's say I have 10 team 10-member team, right? If let's say I give them some kind of task, right? 3 of them, they did not do the task. 7 of them, they did perfectly, right? 3 of them are they do not want to do the task because they do not like that task. They think that this task is useless. How do I deal with it? Right. So I have to come up with such imaginary questions, and I need to come up with such imaginary answers to those questions. Right. So based on the year of experience you have, right, plus the roles that you are applying to, just do not look into the technical aspect, right? They just gave, you should know TCP, OSPF, BGP, MPLS. You say, okay, I know this, and you just click apply. No, read everything, because reading the whole JD will give you an idea what may be asked, especially if it's a very good product company. Okay, like Amazon, Google, if you go to Netflix, or Netflix, or the farm, whatever they say, right? So you need to prepare yourself in that way. And Amazon, in that perspective, is doing an amazing job. It has already mentioned you will be asked questions based on these scenarios. Prepare yourself. Okay, even if you have prepared and you didn't do well, okay, it's not your fault. And Amazon is not the only company. Amazon is a dream company for many people, right? Cisco has been my dream company. Like, I have worked for Cisco for the past 4.5 years, right? But then getting inside, if I do not get inside, that does not stop me from applying to it again and again. As I said, I got into Cisco at the 8th attempt. That means 7 times I had rejections, right? And every time I had rejection, I learned something from it. I am weak in this part. I should prepare on this. I'm weak on that part. This is where I made a mistake. I need to discuss this. I need to work on it. Right? Handling rejection is not getting upset that you did not get through. Handling rejection is where you prepare yourself even better, and you attend the interview in a better and confident manner the next time. That is how you handle rejection. Okay, I'm happy I didn't get into Amazon, but I know I did extremely well. I'm happy with my performance. That is what confidence feels like, right? I know I'm not good at coding. That's why I did not get inside Google. I know where I am weak. If I am asked questions where I'm weak, there is no point in getting like upset about it. You know that fact. So what's the point? Where you are strong and you went wrong, that's where you get rejected. And again, you need to work on that so that the next time you apply to the same company or you apply to other company on the same role, you should be able to get. I hope that answers questions to a lot of people.
Yeah, Lakshya, thank you. But Lakshya, one thing is that most of the JDs and while applying, the first thing is our CV is not getting shortlisted. That is a major thing. Wherever we are
Okay.
applying,
Hmm.
our
Okay.
CVs are not shortlisted. So how to tackle, even on LinkedIn, I'm applying to 500, 800 jobs. But every time I'm getting that single email, unfortunately, you're not selected or something like that. So how to deal with that?
Okay. So first of all, I would say when you apply to LinkedIn, you are not the only person who is applying to that job. Okay, there are 500 other people who have applied to that job. Okay. Now there is a there is a I think there is a lot of posts that is going on in LinkedIn. Like this resume has a something score of 98. This resume has a score of 90.
ATS score.
ATS score. To be very honest,
Yeah.
I find that bullshit. Okay. The Google interview that I did for, the Amazon interview I did for was for Ireland. The Google interview that I did was for San Diego. Okay. And my resume has been the same for the past, I would say, like 5 years has been the same. And in this 5 years, I gave interview in Google, I gave interview in Amazon. And in Amazon, I gave the interview twice. Okay, one was for Indian side, the other was for the Ireland side. Okay, now in CV, okay, this is again a tips that I'm going to give. Make sure your CV is not more than 2 pages. I have seen a lot of CVs. They like there are 3 pages or 4 pages. Okay, and to be very honest, no one has the time to read it because they are interviewing so many people. No one has time to read your 4 pages of resume. Okay, now you are saying in that 4 pages of resume, it's my experience, it's my responsibility. How do I bring it down to 2 pages? First of all, the interviewer is only going to read your roles and responsibilities that you are doing in your current role. He is not going to read what you did in your past companies. So cut down those roles and responsibilities from your previous company. Even in your current role, okay, mention what you're doing. Have you done anything interesting? Right? Have you taken any initiatives? Have you done something extraordinary which is other than your normal work? Okay, all that. Okay, so this is how, first of all, you cut down your resume. Second thing, I have seen many people, they write their skills, their certification in the end. No, I'll give you a very good example. Give me a minute. Let me show you my resume. And based on my resume, I'll ask you guys a question. So this is my resume. Right. Now tell me, what is the first thing that you see, or what is the first impression that you guys get looking at the resume? what is the first thing, or what is your first impression looking at this resume?
Uh, I think everything is written in very concise and clearly, right? People can read, right, whatever skills or technology you have, and what are the projects you have done, along with certification. So in an entire one page, like, and I can quickly go through the entire things and decide
Again, this
whether
is
to.
not one page. This is a 2-page resume. As you, if you see here,
But yeah, but
my
by.
most of my,
Mhm.
as you say, as I said, everyone is going to read the first page. So
Yeah,
if you see, my experience and roles and responsibility in Cisco is more rather
yeah.
than other.
I mean, on the first page, you mentioned everything very clearly: what certification, what protocols, technologies, tools, everything is, and what are the platforms you have worked on.
Hmm.
So it's very clearly mentioned along with the, um, and also you have highlighted the things, right? So that is also good.
Exactly. Anyone else? Your opinion?
Also, I feel that at the starting you haven't mentioned the objective of your like summary which we provide. What is your main objective? Like most of the people add it,
Yeah,
but I think
that again,
after
that's
seeing your
again,
resume, it's not needed.
it's not. See, again, that objective and all. If you're a fresher, if you just have 1 year of experience, 2 years of experience, to put things on your resume, you need objectives, like to make your resume look big, a bit bigger, etc. But once you start having skills, once you start having experience, there is no point in writing that objective, etc. Second thing, what I am good at. Okay, whatever I am good at, whatever achievements that are achievements that I have done, everything is at the top of the resume. So the first thing that anyone sees is my certifications, is the technologies or the skills, the tools, the YouTube videos, training, etc. So, and that is my intention. My intention is not to tell anyone, I lead a team of 10 members, like I do this, I do that. No, that is not my intention. My intention is to tell people this is what I know, and that is what I'm trying to do with this resume. So what you're supposed to do, what should be your takeaway from this? What you're good at, whatever your achievements, should be at the top of your resume. Okay, and forget about the ATS scores that they say. Like this resume has ATS score, the template is completely different. You will see, the certification, skills, etc. on one side, this on that side. There is no need for that. It is absolutely not required. It is just to make your resume look fancy. If you have the right skills, you don't need all that fancy template. Okay, so this is the, again, as I said, this is one of the major gap that I see in most of the resumes that I sometimes receive, for reference. Unfortunately, if I cannot refer in Cisco because Cisco is not hiring anyway. So many times I receive resume and I see a lot of details, right? And even if I'm trying to refer, I try to read what that candidate is good at. Okay, and I see so many useless things. It's not required. Okay, first thing, cut down your resume. Second thing, when you're applying on LinkedIn, especially, apply on the job, it's okay. Go to the company profile, okay, then go to the employers tab under the company profile. Look for employees or employees who are working in the same domain as yourself. Send a message to him, I see this job, this is my resume, can you refer? That is a better approach rather than just simply applying on the job. Because referrals, suppose out of 10 people, I'm saying out of 10 people, at least 3 people would refer you, others would just ignore. Okay, there is a, at least you have a better probability of being called for an interview. Now, why referral works? Because let's say if I refer someone, right, out of you guys, right, if I refer someone and if you are selected, right, I will be getting a bonus. That is why approaching people and telling them, can you refer me, is a better approach rather than just applying it on LinkedIn or Naukri or whatever. So have this approach. First, cut down your resume. Okay, the length of your resume. Just mention the important parts of your resume or the things that you're good at. Second, approach the employees of that company directly. It can be an HR. If it is an HR, best. Approach the HR of that company. Say, I see this job posting and I have applied. This is my resume. Can you refer? That is a better, because that gets their attention. Right? I hope, Tarun, I answered your question here.
Yeah. Thanks, Laksh. That's very insightful.
Yeah. Anyone else? Any other question?
One more thing, Laksh, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, the thing is, we are very busy. I mean, I am very busy in my current project. Okay. So I don't get time usually. Even on weekends also, I have live migrations, even on Sunday also. So how you segregate your time to study? I mean, like the topics or something, like you have preparing for something, like let's say for an interview. How you segregate your time for making those topics be ready for the interview, so that during the interview or when it is scheduled for you, so you are well prepared for it. Because many times I have lost many interviews because of lack of preparation. I was not well prepared and I just ignored the emails from the HR and I don't went for the interview, because going blank in the interview is of no sense. So these things are always in my mind, like sometime I'm not prepared and sometime I'm afraid. So how to overcome these things?
Okay. Preparation obviously needs your time. Okay. No matter how busy you are, you need to spend some time daily. See, do not prepare because you're preparing for an interview. Okay. Do not study because you're preparing for an interview. When I was in Capgemini, when I got recruited in Capgemini, I had only 3 years of experience. Okay. And since then I've been trying to get inside Cisco. So I knew I lack knowledge. Okay, I knew I need to have in-depth knowledge. Once I have 3 years of experience, 4 years of experience, interviewers expectation also gets high, because they expect you to not just tell you, if you say, if you ask a fresher what is OSPF, you say, open standard path first, they have a multicast of 224.0.0.5 and 6, etc. These are very simple questions that any fresher or a person who has done CCNA would answer. But once you gain 3 or 4 years of experience, you should know that the expectation would be more. So that kind of preparation should also be there, not from an interview point of preparation, but to upgrade yourself. Okay, and that is how I prepare. Right. So I started preparing, not preparing. I started upgrading myself. I started reading more and more Cisco books. Right. If you go to my website, let me share my screen once again. So I was saying that if you see these books in the background, this is not any image from Google. This is my collection. Okay, and to take interview series, to take CCNA classes, to take CCNP, CCI classes. Okay, I have read all these books. Okay, I had to take some time, right? So like let's say when I prepared all this when I was working for Capgemini in a TAC environment. So in a TAC environment, what happened was once I log off, right, after my 8 hours of work and I come home, I had some time. I used to prepare. Okay, I would read these books. I would make note of it, right? I would make note of it. I would yeah, and I would make note of this because before the interview, I should go through those notes, right? And that is how I prepared and upgraded myself. Because I upgraded myself, I was prepared for the interview. So do not wait for an interview to upgrade yourself. Start upgrading yourself right now. Because that upgrading yourself will help you in many aspects. It will help you in your current role, right? It will help you in an interview, or it will help you get a completely different company and a completely different role. Let's say you are into, for example, myself. I am good at routing, switching, service provider, and enterprise network, etc. I do not have knowledge of security. I do not have knowledge of coding. Let's say if I have an interview probably 2 weeks later and I start preparing for coding right now, it's not going to help me. I would be only answering questions let's say one word questions. For example, if what is OSPF, open shortest path? That's all would I know. But that's not what the interviewer's expectation is. If he asks me about OSPF, I do not want to stop at the full form. I need to tell him the multicast address. I need to tell him different types of routers, different types of LSAs, different types of areas, right? All that thing. That is what the interviewer is expecting. So start upgrading yourself in order to have a better career, have a better confidence in every aspect of life, especially from a job perspective. Okay, so do not prepare 2 days before the interview. It's not going to help you at all. You know you lack in this particular technology. Start studying about it. Because if you set a goal tomorrow, a week later is my interview, right? You will be nervous. I'm not getting time. Do not prepare it like that. Whenever you get time, irrespective of it is for an interview or not for an interview, just whenever you get time, study. That is my input over here.
Thank you, Lakshya.
Yeah. Anyone else? Anything?
This time, like recently, what happens, right? When I came to Bangalore, can I take 2 minutes, please?
Yeah. Let me stop the recording.